Hello and welcome to Mastering in the Box. In today's video we're going to take a look at limiting and how we can make our limiting more efficient by stacking limiters. Hello and welcome to Mastering in the Box. I'm your host Smudge, and in today's video we're going to take a look at limiting and how we can make our limiting more efficient by stacking limiters. Now before we get into today's video, if you want to know more about digital mastering, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and make sure you tick that bell and select all to receive notifications on all of our videos moving forward. So the track we're featuring in today's video is the song Never Stop by Jules King, and this is another track that's available for download through the Cambridge Music Technology website. So if you want to learn how to mix and master songs, check out the Cambridge Music Technology website. It is a fantastic resource and I'll leave links in the description down below. Now one of the reasons why I've chosen this song is because there is bundles of headroom to work with, so let's take a brief listen. So if we take a look at the peak meter on the right hand side here, we can see that at max we've got minus 8.5 dBs. So there is literally bundles of headroom to work with. Now one of the challenges when we come to mastering a song like this with lots of headroom is a lot of people will just reach for a limiter and start whacking a load of gain into the limiter. But the challenge with doing this is you will start to stress the limiter, you run the risk of adding too much compression or more compression that you may be looking for, and it's just not the most optimal way to do it. In general terms, I may look to apply some form of normalising of the audio to get the overall levels up a bit before I start processing. But in this particular video I want to show you how we can use stacked limiting to achieve a much more efficient limiting process. So really briefly, in terms of the project setup, I have the same track duplicated onto tracks 1 and 2. Track 1, the green track, is the single limiter, and track 2, the blue track, is the stacked limiters. And if I head on over to the mix proportion here, the limiter I'm using here is the TR5 Stealth limiter by Multimedia, and I've used this all the way through just to try and get a little bit of consistency. And before we go into the actual sound examples, I've run the song all the way through using both different techniques, and as you can see here, using the single limiter, the integrated LUFS score is minus 13.7, and using stacked limiters is minus 13.8 LUFS integrated. So I've really tried to hone in on the volume matching as much as possible. So if we take a look at the track 1, which is the single limiter first and foremost, and I'm just going to get a portion of the song which is the loudest, and one thing I really want you to do is just focus here on the gain reduction proportion of the limiter. So let's take a brief listen. So the interesting thing here is the gain reduction. We're getting quite consistently at least a dB&1/2 worth of gain reduction. And we've not really even boosted the volume to a really kind of exaggerated level. It says minus 13, that's shown minus 13.6 LUFS. That's purely because we haven't replayed the track all the way through. But I say momentary loudness max is minus 10.6, the short term loudness max is minus 11.3. So it's not excessively loud all the way through, it's a good consistent level, but even just by using a single limiter, we're getting at least a dB&1/2 worth of gain reduction. Let's take a look at the stacked limiters. Okay, so now let's take a look at the stack limiter, and we have stack limiter 1, 2 and 3. Limiter 1, I've put 5 dBs worth of gain increase into the limiter, and we've got an output ceiling of minus 0.3. This limiter isn't applying any compression, and I know we've got plenty of headroom, so actually by putting 5 dBs into it, the output ceiling is a little bit kind of irrelevant. It's more just as I say a security feature than anything else. Limiter 2, once again input 3.3 dB. The reason why I put this one less is because I want to kind of push this one up to the ceiling but not quite there. And once again the output ceiling, because this is applying no gain reduction, it is a little bit kind of irrelevant, but it's there just once again as a safety measure. This is where we're getting the gain reduction from. It's a limiter 3, and the gain reduction is purely just to catch the peaks only. I've got the input put another 3.3 dBs, and this is just to raise the overall level to over minus 14 LUFS integrated, and then we've got the output ceiling of minus 1 dB to fall in line with the recommendations from the streaming platform. So let's take a listen to see how this is working. So limiter 1, no gain reduction. Limiter 2, no gain reduction. Just take a look at limiter 3. So it's way less compression. So just by using the stat limiters, we're making a much more efficient process from the limiting process, and we're just giving the dynamics really a chance to shine. So if you're worried about putting too much compression in for your limiter, then try using stat limiters to get a much more efficient process. And just finally, for comparison purposes, we're just going to listen to each of the individual tracks once the limiting has been applied. So the compression from the single limiter, to me, it beefs out the low end a little bit, but we lose that clarity and the definition of the top end. I know I like something about the lack of compression in this particular example, so the stat limiter option kind of makes the song breathe a bit more. So let's take another listen. So to my ears, certainly track 1, the bass is a lot more heavy, but probably too pronounced for my taste. And certainly with the stat limiter, I love the clarity and the more definition we get from the high end. So that's it for this week's video, and I hope you found this useful. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to know more about digital mastering, then please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below, and make sure you tick that bell and select all to receive notifications on all of our videos moving forward. All that's left for me to say is I hope you keep safe and well, and I'll see you in the next video coming real soon.